All right, so let's dive into a battle I think we all face. And it's not against mythical creatures or, anything like that, but against those sneaky habits that can really hold us back. The ones sort of lurking in the shadows of our daily lives. And habits you must battle every day. And it has insights from the incredible Maya Angelou. And I think it's going to give us some powerful ammunition for this fight.
Absolutely. What I found particularly interesting is how the video emphasizes understanding the why behind these habits. It's not just about, identifying them, but about getting to the root of what makes them so persistent and, frankly, so darn tricky to overcome.
Okay, so let's lay out our battlefield here. We've got procrastination, that master of delay, fear of failure, which can just keep us frozen in place, the constant whispers of negative self-talk. Well, that's a good one. And then there's complacency, which can feel deceptively comfortable, but ultimately prevents growth. I mean, which one of these resonates most with you right now? They all feel pretty relevant to me, to be honest.
I hear you on that. And I think the video's approach of really understanding these habits is key to finding the right strategies to combat them. Let's start with complacency. It's described in the video as a warm blanket that provides a false sense of security. And honestly, who doesn't love a warm blanket? But that's exactly what makes this habit so dangerous.
It's like getting stuck in a rut, right?
Yeah.
And you might not even realize it's happening until you look back and see how much time has passed without any real progress.
Precisely. The video uses a powerful analogy of a flower whose roots become bound if it's kept in the same pot for too long. It might seem comfortable and safe in that pot, but it's ultimately preventing the flower from accessing the nutrients it needs to truly flourish. Complacency keeps us from branching out, exploring new possibilities, and reaching our full potential.
So how do we shake things up?
Yeah.
And escape that cozy but confining pot? The video asks a pretty powerful question. When was the last time you stepped outside your comfort zone? That really stopped me in my tracks. It's so easy to stay in familiar territory, but is that truly serving us?
And to answer that question, we need to get specific. What does stepping outside your comfort zone look like for you? Is it learning a new skill, taking on a challenging project at work, or finally having that difficult conversation you've been putting off? The key is to identify those areas where you've become too comfortable and start pushing those boundaries. It's not about recklessness, but about intentional growth.
I love that idea of intentional growth. It shifts the focus from simply avoiding discomfort to actively pursuing opportunities that challenge us and help us evolve. So it's not just about the big leaps, but also about the small, consistent steps we take each day.
Exactly. And to help with that, the video encourages setting what it calls audacious goals, goals that truly excite and inspire you, even if they seem a bit daunting at first. Think about something you've always wanted to achieve, but maybe felt too intimidated to pursue. What would it look like to break that goal down into smaller, manageable steps and start making progress today?
I'm already starting to feel a shift in my thinking. It's like this feeling of possibility is starting to outweigh the fear of the unknown. But let's be real, those fears can be pretty powerful, especially the fear of failure. I think we've all experienced that paralyzing feeling of being on the verge of something great, but then that fear just creeps in and holds us back.
Absolutely. Fear of failure is incredibly common. And the video uses a powerful image to illustrate this. Standing on the shore, looking out at the vast ocean of opportunity, but being too afraid to dive in.
It's like that fear creates an invisible barrier, preventing us from taking those risks that could lead to incredible growth and fulfillment. So how do we break through that barrier and overcome this fear that seems to hold so many of us back?
Well, the video offers a really important reframe. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone. Think of it as a detour, not a dead end. Those setbacks and mistakes we make along the way, they're actually valuable learning experiences that can ultimately lead us to even greater discoveries.
I'm really liking this idea of reframing failure as a necessary part of growth. It takes so much pressure off and allows us to see those setbacks as opportunities to learn and adapt. But I think it's also important to acknowledge that even with this reframe, failure can still be incredibly discouraging. How do we build that resilience and keep going even when things get tough?
One key is to cultivate self-compassion. We tend to be much harder on ourselves than we would ever be on a friend. So when you experience a setback, imagine what you would say to a friend going through the same situation. Would you criticize and judge them, or would you offer support and encouragement?
That's such a powerful reminder. We need to extend that same kindness and understanding to ourselves, especially when we're facing challenges. It's about recognizing that we're all human and we're all on this journey of learning and growth together. So self-compassion, reframing failure, setting audacious goals. These are all powerful tools for combating complacency and pushing past that fear of the unknown. But what about that inner critic? That voice that can sometimes be our own worst enemy.
Ah, yes. Negative self-talk, the constant stream of doubts, criticisms, and limiting beliefs that can sabotage our efforts before we even begin. The video really dives into how pervasive this habit is and how much it can impact our beliefs and behaviors. It's like carrying around a backpack full of rocks weighing us down and making it harder to move forward.
And what's so sneaky about it is that we often don't even realize how much those negative thoughts are influencing our actions. It's like they become background noise that we just accept as truth. The thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be able to do that, or I always mess things up. Do any of those sound familiar?
I think we've all been there, and the video really emphasizes the importance of becoming aware of those negative thought patterns. It's about paying attention to the language we use with ourselves and noticing when those self-critical thoughts start to creep in.
Okay, so let's say we become aware of those negative thoughts.
Yeah.
What's the next step? How do we actually start to challenge and reframe those limiting beliefs?
The video offers a few key strategies. The first is to question the validity of those thoughts. Ask yourself, is this really true? What evidence do I have to support this belief? Often we'll find that our minds have exaggerated the situation, or we focused on our perceived shortcomings while overlooking our accomplishments.
It's like our brains have a negativity bias, always scanning for the potential threats and dangers. But what if we could train our brains to look for the positive, to focus on our strengths and successes?
That's where the power of affirmations comes in. The video highlights how repeating positive statements about ourselves can actually reshape our beliefs over time. It's like planting seeds of positivity in our minds. At first, they might seem small and insignificant, but with consistent nurturing, they can grow into powerful beliefs that support our growth and well-being.
I love that analogy of planting seeds of positivity. It makes it feel so much more tangible and achievable. It's not about magically transforming our thoughts overnight, but about making a conscious effort to cultivate a more positive and supportive inner dialogue. So let's talk about that conscious effort. What are some practical steps we can take to start challenging those negative thoughts and replacing them with more empowering beliefs?
Well, the video suggests a technique called cognitive reframing, which is essentially about consciously choosing to view situations from a different perspective. Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, we can view them as opportunities for growth. Instead of focusing on our weaknesses, we can choose to highlight our strengths. And instead of dwelling on past mistakes, we can focus on the lessons learned and the progress we've made. It's about actively shifting our attention to the more positive and empowering aspects of our experiences.
It sounds like it's a process of retraining our brains to focus on the possibilities rather than the limitations. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next habit, procrastination. It's that sneaky habit that can keep us stuck in a cycle of delay and inaction, even when we have the best intentions.
You're right. Procrastination is a fascinating one, and I think it often stems from that same fear of failure we were just talking about. We might put things off because we're afraid of making mistakes, not meeting expectations, or simply not being good enough.
It's like we're telling ourselves that if we never fail, we can never fail. But of course, the problem with that logic is that we also never succeed. So how do we break free from this cycle of procrastination and start taking action towards those goals that matter most to us? It feels like we're battling these two opposing forces a lot of the time. The desire to achieve our goals and the fear of falling short. Like we're standing at a crossroads paralyzed by indecision.
It's a common struggle, and the video offers a really empowering reframe for dealing with procrastination. Progress over perfection. So often we get caught up in this idea that things need to be perfect before we can take action. We wait for the ideal moment, the perfect plan, or the flawless execution. But the truth is there's no such thing as perfect, and waiting for it only keeps us stuck.
Yeah, I love that shift in perspective. Progress over perfection. It's about embracing the messy, imperfect process of growth and recognizing that taking action, even if it's imperfect action, is always better than staying stuck in a cycle of delay.
Exactly. The video emphasizes the importance of focusing on the journey, not just the destination. Each step we take, no matter how small, is a victory. It's about celebrating those wins along the way and using them as fuel to keep moving forward.
So how do we actually translate this idea of progress over perfection into, actionable steps? How do we break free from those procrastination patterns and start building momentum towards our goals?
The video offers some really practical advice here. One strategy is to break down large, overwhelming goals into smaller, more manageable tasks. This makes the whole process feel less daunting and gives us a sense of accomplishment as we check those smaller tasks off our list.
It's like that old saying, how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Breaking those big goals down into bite-sized pieces makes them feel so much more approachable.
Absolutely. And it's also important to create a system for accountability. The video suggests finding a supportive friend, colleague, or mentor who can check in on your progress and offer encouragement along the way. Having someone to share your goals with can make a huge difference in terms of motivation and follow through.
I think having that external accountability can be really helpful, especially when those internal doubts start to creep in. It's like having a cheerleader in your corner reminding you of your goals and celebrating your wins along the way. But sometimes it's not just about external accountability, it's also about managing our time and energy effectively. I know for me, I often procrastinate simply because I feel overwhelmed by all the things I need to do.
That's a great point. The video emphasizes the importance of time management as a key strategy for overcoming procrastination. It's about being intentional with our time and energy, prioritizing tasks, and creating a schedule that supports our goals.
So it's about creating structure and boundaries, both in terms of our time and our energy.
Yeah.
It's about learning to say no to distractions and commitments that don't align with our priorities. It's about setting aside dedicated time for focused work and honoring those commitments to ourselves.
Exactly. And it's also about recognizing that our energy levels ebb and flow throughout the day. It's about understanding our own personal rhythms and scheduling tasks accordingly. For example, if you're most productive in the mornings, that's the ideal time to tackle those challenging or high priority tasks. Save the less demanding tasks for later in the day when your energy levels might be lower.
I love that idea of working with our natural energy cycles rather than fighting against them. It's about maximizing our productivity by aligning our tasks with our peak performance times. It sounds like we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about complacency, the fear of failure, negative self-talk, and procrastination. These are all such common struggles, yet they're often interconnected and influence each other in complex ways.
It's true, they're all part of the human experience. And the key is to approach them with self-awareness, compassion, and a willingness to experiment with different strategies until we find what works best for us.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit and consider the bigger picture here. We've been talking about these habits as obstacles to overcome, as battles to be won. But is there another way to view them? Could there be a hidden upside to these seemingly negative patterns?
That's a fascinating question, and it challenges us to look beyond the surface and consider the deeper purpose these habits might serve.
For example, could complacency sometimes provide a much-needed period of rest and rejuvenation? Could fear of failure actually protect us from taking unnecessary risks? Could negative self-talk sometimes serve as a form of self-preservation, keeping us from venturing too far outside our comfort zones?
It's certainly possible. These habits might be our mind's way of trying to keep us safe, even if those attempts are misguided or ultimately hold us back. It's like they're trying to protect us from potential harm, even if that means sacrificing potential growth.
I love that perspective. It's about recognizing that even these seemingly negative habits might be serving a purpose, albeit an unconscious one. So instead of simply trying to eliminate them, maybe it's about understanding their origins, exploring their potential benefits, and finding healthier ways to meet those underlying needs.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus from judgment to curiosity, from battling against ourselves to collaborating with our own minds. And this brings us back to that crucial element of self-awareness. The more we understand our own patterns and motivations, the better equipped we are to make conscious choices that support our growth and well-being.
This is where mindfulness practices can be so helpful, right? It's about cultivating that ability to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, to notice those habitual patterns as they arise, and to choose how we want to respond.
You're right. Mindfulness helps us create that space between stimulus and response, that pause where we can consciously choose how we want to engage with these habits rather than simply reacting on autopilot. And that's incredibly empowering.
It's like we're reclaiming our power by becoming conscious creators of our own experiences. We're no longer at the mercy of these unconscious patterns, but we have the ability to choose how we want to show up in the world.
Exactly. And that choice is available to us in every moment. With each thought, each action, we have the opportunity to reinforce those old habits or to create new, more empowering patterns. It's an ongoing process, a journey of self-discovery and growth.
It's inspiring to think about these habits not as enemies to be defeated, but as opportunities for growth and transformation. It's about embracing the messy, imperfect process of becoming the best versions of ourselves.
And recognizing that this journey is unique for each of us. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. It's about experimenting with different strategies, finding what resonates with us, and trusting our own inner wisdom to guide us along the way.
I love that reminder to trust our own inner wisdom. It's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others. But ultimately, we each have our own path to follow our own unique set of strengths and challenges, and our own inner compass to guide us.
Absolutely. And that inner compass might lead us in unexpected directions. It might challenge us to step outside our comfort zones, to confront our fears, and to embrace the unknown. But it's in those moments of discomfort and uncertainty that we often discover our greatest potential.
It's like we have to be willing to lose our way in order to find our true path. And that's where courage comes in, right? That willingness to step into the unknown, to embrace the challenges, and to trust that we have the inner resources to navigate whatever comes our way.
Exactly. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act in spite of it. It's that inner strength that allows us to move forward even when we're feeling uncertain, vulnerable, or afraid.
It's about acknowledging those fears, honoring them, and then choosing to take action anyway. It's about trusting that we're stronger than we think we are and that we have the capacity to overcome any obstacle that stands in our way.
And it's about remembering that we don't have to do it alone. We all need support, guidance, and encouragement along the way. Reaching out to others, building a strong network of support, and seeking professional help when needed are all signs of strength, not weakness.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together, that we're all navigating the complexities of life, and that we all need a helping hand sometimes. And that brings us back to the power of connection, right? The importance of surrounding ourselves with people who believe in us, support us, and challenge us to grow.
You're right. Connection is essential. It's through our relationships with others that we learn, grow, and evolve. It's through those connections that we find meaning, purpose, and belonging. And it's through those bonds of support that we find the strength to overcome even the most difficult challenges.
It's like that African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We need each other to navigate this journey of life, to celebrate the wins, to offer comfort in the tough times, and to remind each other of our inherent worth and potential.
Beautifully said. And it's a powerful reminder that we're not meant to do this alone. We all have something unique to offer, and we all have something to learn from one another. It's about embracing that interconnectedness and recognizing that our individual journeys are woven into a larger tapestry of human experience.
And within that tapestry, we each have our own thread, to weave our own story, to tell our own legacy, to create. And as we move forward on this journey of growth and self-discovery, it's essential to remember that the power to shape our lives lies within each and every one of us. It's been a fascinating journey exploring these habits, hasn't it? We've uncovered so much about their potential downsides and hidden upsides. And I think the key takeaway for me is this idea of shifting from a mindset of battle to one of collaboration. Instead of seeing these habits as enemies to be vanquished, what if we view them as opportunities for self-discovery and growth?
I completely agree. It's about recognizing that these habits, even the ones that seem negative, are often trying to protect us in some way. Maybe they're keeping us from getting hurt, or maybe they're simply trying to conserve energy. The key is to understand their purpose and then find healthier, more constructive ways to meet those underlying needs.
I'm thinking back to the video and that powerful quote from Maya Angelou, "The most profound changes begin with a single decision." It reminds us that we have the power to choose in every moment how we want to respond to these habits.
And those choices, even the seemingly small ones, can have a ripple effect, creating positive change, not just in our own lives, but in the lives of those around us. So if you're ready to embark on this journey of transformation, I encourage you to choose one habit that you want to focus on right now.
Yeah, and remember, it doesn't have to be a grand sweeping change. Start with something small, something achievable. Maybe it's setting aside 5 minutes each day to practice mindfulness, or maybe it's committing to one small step towards a goal that you've been putting off. The key is consistency.
Exactly. Small, consistent actions taken over time can create remarkable results. It's like building a muscle. Each repetition strengthens that muscle, making it easier to perform the desired action.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. It's amazing how much wisdom can be gleaned from a single YouTube video when we take the time to really unpack it and connect the dots to our own lives.
And I think that's the beauty of the deep dive format. It's about taking those valuable nuggets of information and transforming them into actionable insights that we can apply to our own unique journeys.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. We've talked about these habits as both obstacles and opportunities. But what if they're also teachers? What if they hold valuable lessons that we need to learn in order to grow and evolve?
That's a brilliant question. It challenges us to look beyond the surface and consider the deeper wisdom that these habits might be trying to impart.
Maybe procrastination is teaching us about the importance of patience and self-compassion. Maybe fear of failure is showing us where we need to build our courage and resilience. Maybe negative self-talk is pointing us towards those limiting beliefs that are holding us back from our full potential.
It's a powerful shift in perspective, isn't it? Instead of viewing these habits as adversaries, we can see them as guides, pointing us towards those areas where we need to grow, heal, and evolve.
So as you go about your day, I invite you to approach these habits with curiosity and compassion. What can you learn from them? What wisdom are they trying to share? And most importantly, how can you use those insights to create a life that is more aligned with your values, your goals, and your truest self?
Remember, the journey of self-discovery is ongoing. There will be ups and downs, twists and turns along the way. But by embracing the lessons, both big and small, we can continue to evolve, to grow, and to create lives that are filled with meaning, purpose, and joy.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing the incredible power that lies within you.